My mom kicked me out of the house 9 years ago to please my stepdad, saying she didn't want to see a reminder of my dad in her house. Now that I'm about to have my daughter, she comes back and says it's my obligation to name my daughter after her as a tribute. My dad passed away way too soon. He was a truck driver, and one day he had an accident. It was really sad for me, especially since my relationship with my mom was already bad. At that time, she was cheating on my dad, and I knew about it. One of the reasons my dad worked so much was because he wanted to save enough money to buy a house for the two of us, so he could divorce her. Technically, the house we were living in was hers. She never really cared to hide her affair, and I often saw her bring her boyfriend home after my dad passed. That guy became my stepdad. At first, he tried to act like he was cool with me, and honestly, I talked to him normally because I didn't have much choice. I figured if I had to live with him, we could at least try to get along. But that didn't last long. Little by little, he started telling my mom that he didn't want to raise a kid that wasn't his, and so on. I saw it all because they'd argue about it right in front of me. Even though my relationship with my mom wasn't great, I never thought she'd actually kick me out of. Well, I was wrong. One day we had an argument because she had taken the money I was saving and gave it to my stepdad. I called her out on it, and that's when she told me I was useless, that she didn't want me in the house anymore, and that I was just a bad reminder of my dad. She said she didn't even understand why I was still there. I thought she was just saying that because she was mad, but no. The next day, my clothes were thrown out of the house, and when I tried to go inside, my stepdad blocked the door and told me I didn't live there anymore. I called a friend, desperate, and he let me stay at his place for a while. After that, I moved to my grandma's house. At first, she wasn't exactly thrilled about having to raise me either, but it was definitely better than living with my mom and stepdad. Little by little, we got to know each other better, and she really became like a mom to me. From there, I finished high school, went to college, dated, got married, and now I'm finally about to have my daughter. I told my grandma the news, since we talk almost every day, even though I live far away now. Apparently, she told my mom because the next day my mom called me to talk about it. Mind you, we hadn't spoken in 9 years, so it was definitely weird. She didn't ask anything about me and just jumped straight into talking about my daughter. That's when, out of nowhere, she told me she'd always dreamed of having a granddaughter named after her and was happy her dream would finally come true. I asked her what she was talking about, and she said obviously I was going to name my daughter after her. For context, my great-grandmother did the same with my grandma, and my grandma did it with my mom, so I guess my mom assumed I'd do the same. I told her I wasn't going to do that, and that I never planned on continuing that tradition. She asked me what I meant, and if I already had a name picked out. I said no, just that I didn't want to name my daughter after her, because she didn't mean anything to me anymore and hadn't been my mom for a long time. She said that was ridiculous, that everyone had respected the tradition, and it was my obligation to do the same since I wanted to be difficult. She said she was coming to my house to settle things and demand her rights. Then she hung up. My grandma called me right after all, worked up, saying my mom was serious and had stopped by her place, saying she was coming to my house. So as I'm writing this, she's on her way. Honestly, I want her to come. I'm ready to say everything I never got to say all these years, so I'm waiting for her eagerly. When I hung up the phone, I stared at the ceiling, feeling a mix of adrenaline and anger coursing through my veins. My mom was really on her way. After 9 years of silence, she thought she could just show up, make demands, and act like she still had any power over me. The nerve of her was unbelievable, but at the same time, the chance to finally say everything I had held back for so long gave me a bitter sense of anticipation. My wife walked into the room, noticing the tension on my face. "Is she really coming?" she asked, already knowing the answer. I nodded, trying to keep my anger in check. She thinks she has the right to demand something, like she's been a mother to me or even a presence in my life since she kicked me out. Now suddenly, because I'm having a daughter, she thinks she can come in here and dictate what I do in my own family. But this time, things are going to be different, I vented. My wife hugged me. "You're not alone in this anymore. We'll face this together." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I knew the next few hours were going to be tough, but I was determined not to back down. She was going to learn that she no longer had any control over my life. A few hours passed, and then the sound of a car pulling up in front of the house echoed through the room. I went to the window and saw my mom's old car. The engine was still rumbling, like she was ready to storm into my life as a furious whirlwind. My mom stepped out of the car, carrying the same arrogant look she always had, though time had left its mark. She looked worn down, like life hadn't been as kind as she expected after kicking me out. And next to her, of course, was my stepdad, the root of it all. He had that same smug look, as if he had won, as if he was the boss of the situation. But this time, things were going to be different. They knocked on the door like they had the right to be there. I opened it, staring them down without a word. "So, are you going to let us in? Or are we going to settle this here?" My mom snapped, without even a hello. Her authoritative tone made my blood boil. I wasn't the teenager she could manipulate or intimidate anymore. "Come in," I said firmly. "But it's not going to go the way you think." They walked in and sat on the couch as if nothing had changed, as if this was a normal family reunion. My stepdad didn't look me in the eye, but he kept that smug grin on his face, like he knew my mom would bend me to her will, just like she always did. So, she started crossing her legs and leaning forward. "Let's get straight to the point. Of course, you're going to follow the tradition and name your daughter after me. That's what's expected, and I'm here to make sure you do the right thing." I laughed a bitter, angry laugh. "Do you have no shame? After kicking me out of your house, calling me useless, and taking everything I had, now you show up and think you have the right to demand anything? What have you done for me in the last 9 years? Not a single call, not a single gesture. And now, because I'm having a daughter, you think you can waltz back in here and tell me what to do? You mean absolutely nothing to me." She looked shocked, like she had never imagined I would dare to confront her this way. "I'm her mother. You owe me respect. If you think you're just going to ignore our family's tradition." "Tradition?" I cut her off. "What tradition? The tradition of destroying your own family? Because that's exactly what you did when you decided to kick me out to please your husband. You chose him. You always chose him, even when you were cheating on my dad. Remember that? The man who died, and you couldn't wait to bring this guy into the house." I pointed at my stepdad, who still had that smug look on his face. My mom tried to speak, but I didn't let her. "You think I don't know what really happened? My dad worked himself to the bone, trying to get us out of that house, saving money, so I could have a future. And what were you doing? Meeting your boyfriend while he was on the road, killing himself to support this family. You always knew what you were doing. And now, because I'm having a daughter, you think you can come back and demand that I honor you? I owe you absolutely nothing." She stood up, furious, her hands shaking. "You don't know what you're talking about. I did what was best for me. And you've always been ungrateful, always choosing your father, even after he died. I chose my father because he was the only one who truly loved me. He died trying to give me a better future, while you destroyed everything he built. And as for your husband, I turned to my stepdad. He's a coward who never did anything for me except throw me out of the house like an unwanted dog." He finally spoke, his voice full of disdain. "I did what I had to do. You were never my son, and you never would be. We were all better off once you left." "Better off for you," I corrected. "But now, I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, my family, and you two have no place here." My mom tried to step toward me, but my wife appeared in the room, holding my hand, looking at her firmly. "You two need to leave," my wife said, calm but strong. My mom looked at me, as if expecting me to change my mind. "You're going to regret this," she said, her voice full of anger. "You'll thank me one day." "No, I won't. I have everything I need right here, and you two are not part of it." With that, I opened the door, and without another word, they walked out. As soon as the door closed, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt like I had finally faced the ghosts of my past. I looked at my wife and smiled, knowing I had done the right thing. Now we're ready to start our real life. And this time, no one was going to tell me otherwise. Months had passed since that initial confrontation with my mother, and while I had hoped that was the end of it, it turned out to be just the beginning. At first, I didn't think much of it when my family's calls became less frequent. I figured they were busy, or maybe things had naturally shifted after my fallout with my mother. But when my cousins stopped texting and invitations to family gatherings disappeared, I knew something was up. One day, my aunt, who I always had a good relationship with, sent me a short message asking if we could talk. Her tone was strange, and when I called her, she got straight to the point. "Can you explain what's going on between you and your mother? She's been saying awful things about you to the entire family." I was stunned for a moment, although deep down, I wasn't entirely surprised. I knew my mother wouldn't take well to losing control over me, but to slander me to the entire family? That was a new level of cruelty. What exactly has she been saying? I asked, already bracing myself for whatever twisted version of events she had concocted. My aunt sighed, sounding uncomfortable even repeating it. "She's telling everyone you kicked her out of your house, refused to name your daughter after her out of pure spite, and that you've been an ungrateful, horrible son ever since. She's making it sound like you abandoned her after everything she did for you." That hit me hard. I had spent my entire life trying to survive her emotional abandonment and constant disdain, and now she was painting me as the villain to everyone. I took a deep breath, trying to control the anger rising inside me, and decided it was time to set the record straight. "Let me tell you what really happened," I said calmly. And so, I laid out the entire story. I told her everything. From the time when my father was still alive and my mother was openly cheating on him with a man who is now my stepdad, to how she treated me like an unwanted reminder of my father. I explained how she had thrown me out of the house to please her new husband and how I had been forced to fend for myself, first with friends and then with my grandmother. My aunt was silent as I spoke, processing every detail. When I finished, she let out a long sigh, this time filled with understanding. I had no idea. Your mother never told this side of the story. I can't believe she kept all this hidden." "Of course she didn't," I replied. "She's always known how to twist things to make herself the victim. But I'm done letting her control the narrative." From that conversation, the truth began to spread within the family. One by one, relatives reached out to me, wanting to hear my side of things. Each time, I explained everything, holding nothing back. And the more people learned, the more they began to see through my mother's lies. Slowly but surely, she lost the grip she had over our family's perception of her. The turning point came when my grandmother, the most respected figure in the family, decided to step in. She called me and asked me to visit. When I arrived at her house, she looked serious, deep in thought. We sat down in the living room, and she began. "I want to hear what's really going on because your mother has told me terrible things, but I know there's more to this story." I told her everything, just as I had with the others, but this time in even more detail. I spoke about how my father had sacrificed his health and his life to support us, while my mother betrayed him behind his back. I described how I had been kicked out of the house and left to fend for myself, and how, after years of silence, she had reappeared only to demand something as if I still owed her anything. My grandmother sat in silence, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and understanding. When I finished, she took a few moments before speaking. "I knew something was wrong," she finally said. "Your mother never wanted to talk about what really happened. Now everything makes sense." After that conversation, my grandmother, the most respected person in our family, took a firm stand. She confronted my mother directly, demanding answers about everything she had done. For the first time, my mother had no escape. Her carefully crafted lies had crumbled, and the support she had once enjoyed from the family began to disappear. There were no more excuses left. From that point on, my mother stopped attending family gatherings. The woman who had always been the center of attention was now isolated. As for me, I finally found peace. Over time, my wife and I were able to focus on our life together, raising our daughter with love and respect, the very things I had never truly experienced from my own mother. Every now and then, I reflect on everything that happened. Sometimes, I catch myself thinking about the concept of what a mother is supposed to be. We grow up believing that mothers are sacred figures who love us unconditionally and will do anything to protect us. But sometimes reality is far different. Being a mother isn't just about giving birth. It's about being there, supporting, loving, and making sacrifices for your child. My biological mother failed in every one of those aspects. Today, I'm at peace. My mother hasn't spoken to me since, and honestly, I don't miss her. I have a family who truly loves me, who supports me, and who stands by me through everything. My grandmother has remained a strong, loving presence in our lives, and over time, the void my mother left has been filled by the genuine love of those who truly care. If I've learned anything from all of this, it's that family is more than just blood. Family is about who stands by your side, who respects you, and who supports you no matter what. And now, I'm finally living that truth.